Blade is a 1998 American superhero film based on the Marvel Comics character. The first in the Blade film series, it was directed by Stephen Norrington and written by David S. Goyer. Wesley Snipes stars as Blade, a human with vampire strengths but not their weaknesses, who battles other vampires. The supporting cast includes Stephen Dorff, Kristofferson, and Wright. Welcome back to Marvel Movie Rewind, where we look back at every live-action Marvel movie. Today we are discussing Blade. When New World Pictures bought the rights to Marvel Comics, they were set to make a Mexico-set western starring Richard Roundtree as the vampire hunter. Marvel Studios then started to develop the film in early 1992, when rapper LL Cool J was interested in playing the lead role. The film was eventually set up at New Line Cinema, with David S. Goyer writing the script. When Goyer heard a film was in development, he went in to pitch with director Ernest Dickerson. David Fincher was also attached to the project and even worked on the script with Goyer. New Line Cinema originally wanted to do Blade as something that was almost a spoof before the writer convinced them otherwise. At one point, the studio even asked if Blade could be white. Goyer wanted to take the character seriously and ground them in a sense of reality with vampirism as a biological disease. He even pitched a trilogy of movies. He also wanted to demystify the vampires and treat them as serious villains with a greater sense of realism instead of the doomed romantic characters shown in Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire. Goyer's early drafts predated but took a similar postmodern approach to the films from Dusk Till Dawn and Vampire in Brooklyn. After failing to get a Black Panther film into production, in 1996, Wesley Snipes signed on to star as Blade. Snipes also produced through his company Amen-Ra Films and worked with the writers to invest the story with elements of classic tragedy to heighten the character's emotional drama. When Goyer first pitched the idea of doing a Blade film, Michael DeLuca, head of New Line Cinema, suggested Denzel Washington, Wesley Snipes, and Lawrence Fishburne. But to Goyer, Snipes was always the perfect choice for Blade. The finalized script was sent to Snipes, and no other actor was seriously considered. Patrick McGoohan was the first choice to play Whistler, as Stephen Norrington was a fan of The Prisoner. Jon Voight was also considered for the role. Now, let's talk about the production. The movie was produced by New Line Cinema and distributed by New Line Cinema. It was directed by Stephen Norrington. The movie was written by David S. Goyer. The movie was also produced by Wesley Snipes. Principal photography commenced on February 5, 1997 and concluded on June 6, 1997, and was in large part done in Los Angeles, with some scenes being shot in Death Valley. All sets were constructed, and all on-set filming occurred in what was formerly the Red Ken Shampoo Factory in Canoga Park. The effects for the film was done by Flat Earth Productions. The film portrayal of Blade was updated for a 1990s audience, and the comics character was subsequently modified to match. Goyer replaced the daggers Blade used in the comics with a sword and gave him a more samurai-like aesthetic. The film's version of Deacon Frost also differs greatly from his comic counterpart. He was older with white hair and a literal church deacon, but the film retains Frost's upstart ambitions. The first cut of the film was 140 minutes long. It had a disastrous test screening with audiences. Heavy edits and reshoots were implemented, which delayed the release date for more than half a year. The most significant change was the addition of the final sword fight between Blade and Deacon Frost, which did not exist in the original cut. In the original ending, Frost turned into La Magra and became a large swirling mass of blood instead of keeping his form. This was scrapped because the filmmakers could not get the special effects to look right. It could be seen as a special feature on the DVD. Stan Lee originally had a cameo that was ultimately cut from the film. He played one of the cops who came into the Blood Club during the aftermath and discovered Quinn's body on fire. The scene where Karen and Deacon are talking about the cure for vampirism initially ran slightly longer and answered the question of how vampires would feed if everybody were turned into vampires. They would keep some humans alive in giant blood bags to harvest them. The bags can still be seen in a doorway during the scene, and they played an integral part in the plot of Blade Trinity. Marvel was not going to give Marv Wolfman and Gene Colan credit for the characters they had created, but Goyer insisted. He asked New Line, and they accepted, but representatives of Marv Wolfman said only he should get credit, and not Gene Colan. Goyer insisted that both be credited. The soundtrack containing hip-hop music was released on August 25, 1998, by TVT Records and Epic Records. It peaked at number 36 on the Billboard 200 and number 28 on the top R&B hip-hop albums. The British techno band The Prodigy was approached to do the soundtrack and score to the film, but had to turn down the offer due to other commitments.
Freeze! Motherfucker, are you out of your damn mind?
Blade premiered on August 19, 1998 at New York Sony Theater's Lincoln Square, with another screening at Los Angeles' Grauman's Chinese Theater the following day before opening wide on August 21st. The film was banned from showing in Malaysia, widely considered to have the most controlling censors in Southeast Asia. In North America, Blade dislodged Saving Private Ryan, which led the previous 4 weeks in the box office to finish at number 1 with $17.1 million across 2,322 screens. The film would top the box office for 2 weekends until it was overtaken by There's Something About Mary. The film also opened at number 1 in both Spain, with 1.5 million in 200 theaters, and Australia, with 1 million from 132 cinemas. In the Flemish region of Belgium, the film earned $323,000 from 20 cinemas, and in the Netherlands, the film earned $246,000 from 44 cinemas. France made 1.9 million in 5 days from 241 cinemas, but the film was less successful in Hong Kong, with $182,000 from 22 cinemas, and South Africa, with $159,000 from 64 cinemas. The United Kingdom was more successful, taking in 5.7 million over 10 days, as was Brazil, making $855,000 in 4 days from 133 cinemas. Blade remained atop the North American box office in its second weekend, earning $11.1 million. Blade finished its box office run with $70 million domestically and $61 million worldwide, for a total of $131.2 million. Despite the success of the film, Marvel shared only a flat fee of $25,000. It had a budget of $45 million and made $131.2 million at the box office. It currently has a 59% critic score and a 78% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes, a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, and a 47 Metacritic score. Blade is hailed as one of Snipes' signature roles. It was noted as a dark superhero film for its time, as well as being Marvel's first successful film.
Some motherfuckers are always trying to ice skate uphill.
Marv Wolfman unsuccessfully sued Marvel and New Line Cinema for $35 million after the release of the film, claiming he was not bound by a work-for-hire contract when he created the character in 1972. He, along with artist Gene Colan, received a based on characters created by credit in this film. 3 extras in the blood rave scene sued the studios and effects company Real Creations Inc., claiming the stage blood caused permanent blemishes to their skin. An alternate ending on the DVD featured director Stephen Norrington as a character costumed in dark clothing and observing Blade from afar. He had a cameo earlier in the film during the chase with Officer Krieger, the vampire on the side of the road biting the girl's neck. In the alternate ending on the DVD, the blue figure in the black coat on the roof is Norrington again, as an unnamed vampire. This character was later confirmed to be Michael Morbius, the living vampire, with this alternate ending setting him up as the original villain of the sequel. However, Marvel flat out told David S. Goyer that the character was off limits. A video game prequel was published and released by Activision in 2000 for the PlayStation, following the adventure of Blade with the help of his mentor and friend, Abraham Whistler. The game received mixed reviews, with criticism of the graphics, camera, controls, and voice acting. On Metacritic, it received a weighted average score of 51% based on reviews from 11 critics, indicating mixed or average reviews. A separate game for the Game Boy Color was also released. Blade got a sequel 4 years later in 2002, titled Blade 2. With that being said, thanks for watching. Next time we'll be talking about X-Men from 2000. If you enjoyed this episode and would like to see more, consider giving a like or rating and subscribing with notifications so you never miss an episode. It's free. Also feel free to check out our other episodes and share this podcast with others on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Podcasts. We'll see you next time on Movie Rewind.